Well, it's obvious this Hillary controversy is not going away, at least not today. And today the White House, or the House Select Committee on Benghazi, rather, subpoenaed her personal emails. Am I crazy to think that Hillary intentionally used this personal email system to hide things from us? Some people swore. You're crazy, Kennedy. Jamu Green joins me, Fox News political analyst, and Steve Laser-focused Laser, host of the radio show Making Sense with Steve Laser. All right, so Jamu, I will go to you. Is the First Lady held to a different standard than other government employees? I mean, on some level, you have to think this is kind of weird.
Well, the question of is it a different standard? It's certainly a double standard. Come on, Kennedy. This story was actually reported 2 years ago, almost to the day, March of 2013, by the Smoking Gun. This is absurdity. When you look up double standard in the dictionary, there should be a picture of Hillary Clinton and the level of scrutiny that the media focuses on this.
Okay,
this is the third day in this news cycle about emails.
I mean, this is the New York Times that should be very friendly to the Clintons, and they're the ones going after her on this. And I have to say, the First Lady, she has not come out swinging in her own defense. We have not heard a hearty retort to some of these accusations. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I have a theory about why it came out in the New York Times first, but I want to get to some other things first. I was actually very concerned about this story when it first broke, so I turned to a source that I have in the State Department, and it turns out that the systems in the State Department have been really problematic, going all the way back to Colin Powell's time at the State Department. The computers weren't attached to networks. You couldn't get to the internet unless you used computers in a special room, and there have been slowly strides made, but even as recent as Hillary's time in office, you couldn't access your email remotely reliably, and for a Secretary of State like Hillary, who is out there trying to quell all these problems all over the world, not being able to access your State Department email remotely is just an impossible situation to deal with. So,
no, you're absolutely right. And I think it's probably a great idea when something is inconvenient that you completely circumvent the system and create your own. I love it, and I think that would be a fantastic habit when she's president.
I have been in IT for 17 years, and if you do those kinds of things, if you make it impossible for people to do their jobs, that is exactly what they will do. I don't care what industry you're in. People will get their jobs done, particularly in high-powered positions.
Yeah, never mind what the regulations are, because really, she was only the Secretary of State, Jamu. I mean, there's nothing confidential. No, they're actually the 2019 the law, the 2014 law certainly was enacted about requirements of emails, but the ones requiring storage that goes back to 2009, before she was Secretary of State.
She stored all of those emails, and when they requested them, she immediately turned over 55,000 emails. This is just a continuation of this Benghazi witch hunt, and there should be equal transparency. I think the Congressman Gowdy should say, here are all of the emails she released. Let's take a look at them.
Let's all take a look at them.
I mean, okay, she's not the first Secretary of State to do this. Now, John Kerry is actually the first Secretary of State to be using.
Yeah, because he's required by law to do that.
Her like this.
Well, because the systems are
poor thing. She was sidestepping all the rules. I feel so bad.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, I mean, my State Department contact says that in 2011 or 2012, the systems finally became good enough to be able to use remotely your email and things like that. So that's why John Kerry is doing that. And I'm glad Jamu brought up Benghazi, because they're subpoenaing her emails now regarding Benghazi. Yeah. How many investigations have we had regarding Benghazi? 8, 9, 10?
50?
I don't know how many we've had. I mean, come on. You think that after all those investigations and all the witnesses that we've talked to, the smoking gun is on her personal email?
Well, even George Stephanopoulos said that one of his biggest regrets from his time in the White House was that he didn't insist that Hillary Clinton release those documents that she had regarding Whitewater. I mean, obviously, she's got a history going back a long way of despising transparency and protecting herself, and I do think that she's held to a different standard. And by the way, both of you, if this were a Republican, you guys would be having kittens.
I would ask a lot of questions.
That's the situation.
Republicans.
Jeb Bush had 3 million emails when he was governor, and when he was asked to turn them over, he handpicked 250,000 of them to turn over. Come on, the listing should do the same thing. Scott Walker,
is she going to make public? Is she going to make public 250,000 250,000 emails?
She turned over all of those emails. They weren't classified.
But is she going to make them public?
With people
There's
who
a
had
difference.
state.gov emails, so those were already archived.
But then
there's nothing here.
I mean,
this is a nothing
if there's
sandwich,
nothing
Kennedy,
here,
and-
if this is a nothing sandwich,
Yes.
then she should come out the day these accusations are leveled against her, and she should hit them like a piñata. She should destroy these accusations. She's coming out. She's going to run for president next month. She's had a weak defense, which makes the story bigger, and one part of it is the story has totally gotten away from her. And by the way, who the hell is this Eric Hotham?
I don't know who Eric Hotham is.
Exactly.
But,
That's
but I will tell you,
Gotta wrap it up.
this, Kennedy. I told you I had a theory about why it broke in the New York Times and MSNBC and other places like that. First, notoriously more liberal.
Sure.
I think that this was released by the Hillary camp to get this out of the way in advance of her winning for president.
Yeah, probably. Well, if that's the case, then she should have a really good response, which she hasn't, which makes her look weird and ineffective and unethical. You guys,
I was
thank you
with her
so
last
much.
night. She looked fantastic. The very opposite
She always
of
looks
weird
fantastic.
and presidential.
Then why didn't she address it? All right.
Bigger issues to talk about.
Yeah, she does. Like her ethical conundrums that are not going to sit well with voters. We shall see. All right, Jamu and Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kennedy.
All right, tell me what you think. Follow me on Twitter @KennedyNation. Join the fight anytime you like. Go ahead and sponge me off. Coming up.